Hello, everyone. It's Dr. Stu down in Swerdlow.
And Janet Diane Moria Swerdlow.
And this is the expansions news video for the second week of, I don't even know what day it is.
Did you have a birthday?
Well, I thought I did, but I wasn't around, so.
So who knows what happened, right?
Well, I do know what happened.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna say anything. What happens in Istanbul stays in Istanbul.
So what I want to tell everybody is those of you, of course, who are members of our website know more about what's going on. And because of the importance of everything we have to share with you, but specifically what Stuart has to share with you, I've just a couple short stories. I'm going to go first. I want you to pay attention to what I have to say because it all interrelates with what Stuart has to say. And of course, there will be more details on our website, expansions.com. Get your membership so you can discuss it with our global membership. But in the meantime, we'll get you started
In
here.
the meantime, they have to bear with me.
Yes. I noticed you have a new bear hat as well.
My wonderful people on expansions have sent me this hat.
For a birthday present.
Yes, he always sends me a birthday present. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and usually they come from our Zazzle store. This is from him too, isn't it? I think
Probably.
so.
All my clothes, if it wasn't for those people, I have no clothes.
That's true. Yeah, the emperor would be naked.
Well, I've tried that.
I know, but it doesn't get you too far. Anyway, so Zazzle.com, that's where you can get our wonderful expansions things. It's by one of our members that runs that store for us, and he does a fabulous job. So with all of that intro, I'm going to just jump right in here.
Oh, yeah.
So, interestingly enough, and I reported on this to you back in September. If you remember, back in September, an anonymous source told CNN that a string of drone attacks against the Rapid Support Forces were carried out by a non-Sudanese military in Sudan, claiming that Ukrainian special services were likely responsible. Now, interestingly enough, the US, of course, is giving billions of dollars of aid to Ukraine. And if that's the case, what are they doing with them down in Sudan, right?
Well, that's because the money goes into Ukraine and goes right back to the people that sent it into their bank accounts.
Well, now another source in Ukraine's security and defense sector told the Kiev Post that Ukrainian special forces are currently working in Sudan to clean up the Wagner Group, as well as local terrorists and the Russian Federation Special Services.
May I say something?
Yes.
They're not going to get rid of the Wagner.
No, we know that, but I'm just telling you, if that's still US money that's being supplied to the Ukrainians that's down there in Sudan. So first I told you in September, now here we are in November, that's our US funds down there. It's not doing what people think they're doing. This is what they're doing with your money, our taxpayer dollars. The source said the footage, because it was a video, you can use the link and go look at it if you haven't seen it already. The source said the footage probably shows the work of special units of the main intelligence directorate of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine. The clip lasts a little over 2 minutes. It shows the Ukrainian troops stacking up outside the compound supposedly used by the Wagner Group mercenaries. Also, we have learned that whistleblowers in Chad told CNN that the Wagner convoy moved through Chad, where it does not currently have an established presence, but this is potentially signaling an expansion of Russia and Wagner's influence on the continent, which we do know to be true.
Well,
from our
that's an old story.
Yeah, which we have told you about. So, no, just leave her in because then she's going to want to go off. Moving along to my second story, which I was a little disturbed to hear about, I will tell you. Apparently on November 14th, there's going to be a March for Israel rally at the National Mall in Washington, D.C. Now, you might remember, it wasn't that long ago that there was a pro-Palestinian march on the National Mall in Washington, D.C., and they claimed that 100,000 pro-Palestinian people showed up. Okay, so I understand about these things, but I'm concerned that it's like a recipe for disaster. So apparently 2 different Jewish American groups have called upon their constituents to participate in what they're calling a mega pro-Israel rally in Washington, D.C. Now it says both the ultra-Orthodox Agudath Israel of America and the left-wing Americans for Peace Now have sent invitations to their mailing lists and asked their supporters to join this rally. The event will take place under tight security, but like I said, it's a recipe for disaster, in my opinion.
Let me say something about what I don't believe in protests or demonstrations because nobody cares or listens to that. The people in power don't even look at it.
Well, they're all
So
gonna, they're
it's
gonna,
just an excuse for people to go out in the street and yell and scream for no reason.
and you think that you're getting things done, but there's this agenda behind the scenes, and that's what Stuart and I continually tell you about. There's an agenda behind the scenes, and those global powers, they're going to carry them out. Now, when you do this, it just tells them what your reactions could be, but they're not going to stop. So this is the issue. They're not stopping. And there are a lot of paid protesters out there who get those people who are not paid agitated. And agitation isn't what we need to create peace in the world.
It's just creating a target, and it's not a good idea.
That's correct. It says it's expected to be a display of unanimous support for Israel, as well as flagging the surge in anti-Semitic events in the U.S. since the Hamas massacre on October 7th. People who are going to do bad things are going to do bad things, and you're out there showing them isn't going to stop it. Now, the Agudath Israel sent out a message saying, in light of the ongoing life-threatening danger confronting Israeli soldiers and all of our dear brothers and sisters in the land of Israel, and with great concern about the extremely volatile political climate here in the U.S., we feel it is important that there be a large turnout at this event. Now, the American Friends for Peace now also sent out an email stating thousands of American Jews, along with friends and allies, will gather for a rally on Washington's National Mall, and we will be there. There will be progressive Jews, conservative Jews, observant Jews, and secular Jews. Together with our colleagues at like-minded groups, we are organizing a peace bloc, and we'll be there in solidarity with the people of Israel, with the hostages held in Gaza, with their families, and against the alarming rise in global anti-Semitism, organized by the Jewish Federations of North America and Conference of Presidents. We will stand together as a community alongside other Jewish organizations in our peace bloc, and yes, alongside those who do not share our views. The organizers, while not stating it directly, are attempting for this to be the largest display of unity and support for Israel in decades. They're hoping for hundreds of thousands of Israel supporters to show up. And like I said, these days, people do really bad things.
It's not a good idea.
That's what I think as well. I understand, and I think it's a terrible thing that if you want to worship, you have to have police cars there and armed guards. I think it's terrible.
Right.
But here we are, and I think you're putting yourselves and your families and everybody in jeopardy by going to these kind of events. I want you, if you haven't got our spirituality books, you need these. And in here, we talk about the history and how people should all come together and be together because they have many more common origins than you realize. But if people can't get along in their own home, they can't get along with each other. So focus on yourself, focus on your own home, and don't be an agitator. So is there anything you want to say at this point about the history of the people being
Well,
related?
I discussed this during the conference that I went to in Istanbul, where we discussed peace plans, and I'm going to get to that in a moment with a lot of information for you. But one thing that people need to understand is that the Palestinians have a history that isn't recognized or understood even by them or the Jews. So first of all, you may recall that in 721 BC, the Assyrians invaded the northern kingdom of Israel, took the 10 tribes back to Central Asia and dispersed them. And then in 586 BC, the Babylonians came and took the kingdom of Judah and took them into captivity in Babylon, where they were for 70 years until the Persian Empire attacked and controlled Babylon. And the Persians allowed the Jews to return to the Holy Land and even told them to rebuild the temple and gave them all of the gold and instruments that were stolen from the temple by the Babylonians. So isn't it interesting that the Persians back then were so friendly to the Jews, and today Persia, which is Iran, is not so friendly. But that's really the government of Iran. The people of Iran actually support Israel, and I mentioned that a couple of weeks ago in one of the podcasts that we did. Remember, what's the origin of Persia? When the Hebrews were taken into Central Asia, one of the families was the Parthia family, and they created the Parthia Empire. Parthia became Persia. It was a matter of semantics. And so that's the Persians are basically descendants of Jews, which leads me to the next thing. When the Jews returned to the Holy Land after the captivity by Babylon, they found people living in the Holy Land that lived in the area of Samaria, and they were called Samaritans. And so the Hebrews said, "Who are you?" And they said, "We're Jews. We came back from Assyria. They sent us back here." And so, bottom line is, without going into too much detail, the Palestinian people are the descendants of the Samaritans, who were the descendants of the tribes of Ephraim and Manasseh that were part of the northern kingdom of Israel, who were returned to the Holy Land. And so over the centuries and millennium that the Samaritans lived there, they were forcibly converted to Islam and Christianity over time, and then lost track of their ancestry. So what I'm trying to tell you is, in fact, that about 70 to 75% of the Palestinians today are descendants of the tribes of Manasseh and Ephraim, meaning that they are really descendants of the Hebrews. So my point is, they should not be fighting with each other. Israelis, Gazans, whoever's there, they're all related. They're brothers and sisters and cousins and family. They need to stop. This is what needs to be taught. True world history needs to be taught. And when that is taught, war will stop, because you don't attack your brothers and your sisters. And this is what everyone needs to learn. So I wanted to make that statement here. And I have now, as you know, most of you know that in the last few days, I have been in Istanbul for a meeting with the Russians. I have been placed in charge of the American delegation, and the American delegation came with me. The Russians met us. We even met with Viktor Khamarin, who is the best friend of Vladimir Putin and married to Vladimir Putin's cousin. And he was extremely wonderful and nice person. Nothing like the media portrays him to be. The Western media really is full of propaganda and nastiness, and it's a shame on them that they don't tell the truth. The Russians were lovely and friendly, and we had very excellent discussions, and I think we came to very good conclusions and set the pace for a de-escalation of what might have become a nuclear war and so on. And I think that we have at least slowed that down or stopped it to some degree for now, and we will have another meeting in a couple of months. I have been named, this was by the committee of 2017, which is in honor of the committee of 1917, which is, of course, been really my family and the Communist Revolution and so on. And so that was a big honor for me to be invited there and to be named coordinator of Committee 2017 for the United States of America, which is a very big deal. I'm sorry, I have to let them.
So while he's letting in one of our very friendly things, I want to remind you about our classes that we have been giving and have given on the Dark to Light subject. We have Dark to Light Volume 1, we have Dark to Light Volume 2, and remember, we have the pay-per-views on our website. Many of those are free to our members. And we also have the study guides, which include the volumes 3 and 4, which are forthcoming imminently.
Okay, so the meeting has been filmed. There has been a huge article that has been placed in Russian magazine, newspapers and media that have been seen so far by 16 million Russians. This Wednesday, it will go to all Russian media and probably BRICS nations. So it'll be seen by hundreds of millions of people. And it is my job to promote this on Western media in the United States and Europe. And that is what I'm about to do now. And you please bear with me, no pun intended, because there's a lot of information here. I can't tell you everything. There are some things which have to remain unrevealed at the moment, but everything is a positive. And I want to read to you the principles of activity of the Committee of 2017. And so one of the principles is the principle of respect. It implies respect for personal dignity, human rights, and freedoms, regardless of nationality, religion, citizenship, age, gender, belonging to a particular culture, language, and social status. That was one of the main principles. Next principle of humanism, recognizing the highest value of a person, the dignity, free harmonious development, taking into account equal treatment of the parties to the conflict, and respect for the interests of all parties. Next principle of responsibility, which involves thinking about actions, statements, publications, decisions, understanding what results they can lead to, understanding moral obligations to other participants in the peacekeeping process, and the possibility of harming the common cause. Next, the principle of impartiality, presupposing the pursuit of justice despite personal sympathies, lack of commitment to one of the possible options or to one of the parties interested in the solution, the ability to abstract from personal attitudes, personal goals, and personal preferences. So we have to eliminate our emotions and our preconceived ideas before we go forward. And finally, the principle of competence presupposes knowledge and experience in peacekeeping, skills and abilities to resolve conflict in disputable situations, allowing you to make objective judgments and make accurate decisions with an understanding of possible algorithms for translating socially negative conflicts into a socially positive direction, the choice of optimal strategies. That was the foundation from which we, the Russians and the Americans, met in Istanbul. That led at the end of the meeting to resolution of the first meeting of the public of Russia and the United States. So this is the resolution. We, the participants of the first meeting of the public of Russia and the USA, we call on the leaders of our countries to end the strife and restore cooperation between our states, cultures, and peoples. We don't need to look for ways to understand each other. We are united in respect for our religious beliefs, cultural values, and each other's worldview. It is important for us to preserve the foundations of our peaceful existence. We believe that only an immediate de-escalation of existing conflicts can lead to the restoration of relations between countries and subsequently focus on solving global problems. No religion in the world calls for the destruction of man. The events in the Middle East are a contradiction with all possible postulates of any of the religions. We must unite against the revival of Nazism, against the most dense and inhumane ideologies, against existing and emerging new terrors, organizations, and groups. We consider it necessary to continue working on the creation of a supranational public platform involving the public of other countries in our work. The civil society of the planet must unite to solve global threats. Respecting the culture of other peoples, we are united in rejecting the aggressive spread and imposition of alien modern values on us and the invention and imposition of uncharacteristic nutrition standards. Attempts to debilitate society and manipulate human consciousness are also unacceptable to us. That means no mind control and programming. Our friendship and cooperation are not directed against other civilizations and do not contradict the ideals of the people of the world. And this is signed by the participants of the first public meeting of Russia and the United States, Istanbul, November 7, 2023. And so I want to read to you the article that has just been published in the Russian media, and I have now initiated this to be published in Western media in Europe and North America, and even to be translated into Spanish for the Latin American cultures in the Western world. So this is now what millions of Russians and soon tens of millions and hundreds of millions of people in the BRICS countries will be reading.
And before you say that, I'll just state that because we have family and friends all over the world, that as soon as this was out, even in the Russian media, you were contacted by
Me
all
too.
kinds of family and friends. Everybody is seeing this and asking him. So now, as soon as we get into the West, we expect the same reaction.
In fact, I received a message yesterday from members of the Russian Duma, which is a parliament of Russia, asking myself and Laura Eisenhower to march in the May 9 victory parade in Moscow in 2024. And that means we are all assuming no war, that there'll be peace between our countries.
We want to remind you that Laura Eisenhower is the great-granddaughter.
Great-granddaughter of President Dwight D. Eisenhower, and I, as of course, am the grandnephew of Yakov Swerdlow, the technical first president of the Soviet Union. And so it was very important for both of us to be there. And let me read you what the article says. When relations between states are at an impasse, the time comes for people's diplomacy. The world is on the brink of nuclear war, and it is the duty of the international community to prevent it. This is the main message of the Russian-American conference taking place today in Istanbul. The initiator of the meeting is the International Public Movement Committee 2017, known in Russia as We Love Russia. The organization includes influential public figures from Russia, Germany, Indonesia, Bulgaria, Turkey, South Africa, Azerbaijan, and India. From the United States, participants in the committee include Professor Dr. Stuart Alan Swerdlow, a relative of the Russian revolutionary, Yakov Swerdlow, CCAM President Gavin Brown, who works with Elon Musk on many issues in AI and quantum. Radio journalist Laura Eisenhower, great-granddaughter of the U.S. President. Youth public leader Jonathan Joseph Swerdlow, remember that name, representing Russia, the chairman of the board of the committee 2017, Mikhail Tsernov, renowned lawyer and chairman of the board of trustees of and classmate of Vladimir Putin, Viktor Khamarin. According to insider information, he's inside information. He's a friend. He's a very close friend of Putin and married to Mr. Putin's cousin. Honorary president of the International Society Russia-Germany, Olga Zinovieva, widow of the great Russian philosopher. President of the holding company Aquarius Era, Vladimir Kilchenko, and others. A resolution will be adopted at the end of the meeting, which I just read to you. The correspondent looked into the text. We call on the leadership of our countries to end the quarrel and restore cooperation. Only the immediate de-escalation of existing conflicts can lead to the restoration of relations between countries. We must unite against the resurgence of Nazism and the most obscure and anti-human ideologies. The importance of public diplomacy cannot be underestimated, commented Mr. Tsernov, coordinator of the Russian delegation. Few people know, but it has made a significant contribution to the prevention of the looming conflict between Russia and Turkey on Syrian territory in 2016. Now we are taking the first step towards achieving mutual understanding between Russia and the United States of America. As an addendum, Dr. Stuart Alan Swerdlow is the designated coordinator for the Committee of 2017 for USA. Next meeting will include members of BRICS nations, Ukrainian delegation, and delegates of Palestinian and Israel to strengthen, expand peace negotiations. Dr. Swerdlow says, I believe we have gained more time to prevent global war. The Russians made it very clear that they do not want any war and seek to be friends permanently with the United States of America. Confidential and sensitive information may be released at a future date. And so this, I think, is posted on a blog.
Well, this will be posted on the blog. It has not yet, but it is on social media. Laura Eisenhower's page and on your page and on our expansions.com fan page.
Mhm. Yes, and I urge you, anyone who gets it, to spread it everywhere. If you're in contact with journalists, newspapers, magazines, it must be spread around the world. We are preventing World War III. We're preventing nuclear war. What good is anything if we're all dead? We need to stop the war.
This is an initiative of the people, by the people.
Yes, and I know that ultimately the governments of those people will approve of this, because nobody wins the next war. Nobody. I will state categorically, the Russians stated beyond a shadow of a doubt, they do not want any war. They do not want the territory of Ukraine. All they ask is that Ukraine become a peaceful, friendly neighbor, and they will help restore Ukraine. Do you know, they said that what if Mexico started to have nuclear weapons and biological labs, and was aiming to send it into the United States? What would the United States do? Sit and wait till it happened? No, you have to help it. And the eastern part of Ukraine is Russian speaking. It is mostly Russian, even all the way to Crimea. And so these people, the Russian speaking people, were being attacked, killed, and murdered. And the Russians could not stand by and let their brothers and sisters be murdered. They had to do something. They told me point blank, and it's the truth. Russia is the largest country on the world and has a lot of resources, a lot of empty land. They don't want or need any more land. They just want peaceful neighbors who cooperate with them. That's it. And so I have a couple of other things, which I really don't want to get too much into the details of it. But I can tell you that there was a lot of propaganda on Western media about Mr. Putin, about Mr. Khmarin, about other people. And this is not true. First of all, Mr. Putin is not sick. He's perfectly well. He's perfectly fine. And Mr. Khmarin is a very lovely, wonderful man, friendly, made me a birthday party in Istanbul and brought, I will say, special vodka from Moscow, as well as many delicacies, which were very, very good. And he did that for me. And I have to say, I appreciate that very much. So I hope that all of you will understand what I'm telling you. Russia is not your enemy. It's not anybody's enemy. They're trying to create a peaceful world and eradicate the people who are creating evil. And I think that should be the goal of everybody on this planet, to remove evil so that those peaceful, loving, spiritual people can have a life without interference.
And remember our spirituality bundle, because you need to figure out how to connect to your source yourself rather than have somebody else do it for you. And I want to remind you, You, Man, and Emotion, of our newest author, who was our youth speaker and representative at this conference, and he on the members side has posted his speech, which got an ovation.
The only one.
Yes.
They told me my speech was beautiful, but Jonathan got an ovation.
He got an ovation, and they want to include that in the final resolution, his paper, because I mean, I was astounded at what an amazing speech that was.
Yeah.
It's about the hope for the youth and what we need to do to protect the world so our youth have a place and they feel like they can survive in this world.
And you know, Mr. Erdogan, president of Turkey, one of his main advisors was also present, and he was also a very friendly, wonderful person who actually gave us his BMW to take us to restaurants.
Well, why didn't you just drive that on?
Well, if I could have driven under the ocean, I probably would have done that.
There you go. So anyway, as you know, we do a lot of work behind the scenes. Those who are on our webinars know more what's going on, and we do share more with our members. But we are working so hard, like 24/7. Like Stuart says, he gets up in the morning because of time zones. He's on the phone from 6 o'clock on around the clock.
Sometimes 5:30.
7 days a week. It doesn't stop here.
And I came home the other night late in the afternoon, and I had to do a webinar, and then I had something at the next day. So it's been a rough ride, but you know what? We have to stop war. And you can't be tired. You have to do everything to stop the war.
And the most important thing you can do rather than get out and march is pray. We must get things working within ourselves and within our societies and with our families so that we can have this peace that we're looking for. Nobody wants to have the outside world destroyed.
No.
We just want to make a living and have our families and worship the way we want to worship.
Remember, we all come from the same place.
That's right.
And I believe the webmasters will be posting pictures. And is it
Yes.
my lecture will be on there too?
I don't
I
think
don't
so.
know. Anyway, I
You
could,
mean your,
yeah, my
well,
speech.
if you give that, we can.
Yeah.
We can put that up as well, but there's so much going on here. And as you said, right now, I think they have a tentative date of in February for
February
their next
23rd,
meeting.
supposedly, but we don't know where that will be, although they did mention either Moscow or St. Petersburg.
Yeah, so we're not sure where that
Yeah.
meeting will be at in February, but there will be more nations included. This will grow. This is a movement of the people, by the people, so that we can show solidarity as a human species.
And there's a lot more positive, exciting
Developments.
plans that will be revealed in the
As we
next few
can.
weeks. And as I'm allowed to say it, I will be giving that to you, but I want you to know that there's a lot of hope, a lot of positive outcome. And I thank God that we were able to participate in this meeting. It was absolutely historical, absolutely historical.
Yes. So look for the pictures on social media. Watch for the articles to come out in the Western news soon. And we have more photographs on the member site, expansions.com. Get your membership, get your books, do your work, join our Miracles in Motion webinar, because we have a fabulous group of people doing absolutely amazing work. It's about learning to read frequency, getting your own answers, your own information. We are one expressing as the many. Keep that in mind and know that within yourself.
We are the multiplicity of the singularity.
That's right. And so the message that Stuart and I both share every single day is to be as peaceful as you can inside so we can have that reflected back to us on the outside. Do your best. It's challenging, we know, because it's a rough ride out there, but you know what? It's making all of us stronger. That's what we're looking for. Okay.
Yes. Again, listen to this broadcast many times over and take notes so that you know exactly what I said and you understand.
And share.
Share it everywhere in the world.
So until next time, bye.
Bye.